All right. I could not wait for this week's topic. It's probably one of my favorite topics. Back to school, and what does this mean for your dog? I don't know if I'm more excited about kids going back to school and everything getting back on track, but either way, just as I'm excited for, I would say, my child to go back to school and things to start to get back to normal, and definitely a routine schedule because summer can be kind of chaotic. So what I want to do today is go through some of the questions that I've been asked throughout training with families because it is back to school time and people do have concerns. And with families being busy, I do not want you to make the same mistakes. So I want to talk to you about that and how to get your dog on the up and up. So my name is Pamela Brown with Down for Paws Dog Training. We provide practical training solutions to make life living with your dogs a lot easier. So everything that I do is about busy families and making life easy. So I just want to jump right into it and we can go through these things. All right. So one of the questions about when you think about your kids going back to school and being and starting to get a little bit busier is you want to start thinking about your dog's schedule. And one of the questions I got is how can we adjust our schedule effectively, right? Because everyone knows that a dog needs to be on a schedule. They learn better that way. They do better that way. So what you want to do before school starts, or even because I know some kids have already went back to school, I always say, think about your September schedule and fall. I would say not September, fall schedule. What does that look like for you and your family? I know, for instance, that, right now my kid gets up like whenever. My dogs eat at different times of day now because it is the summertime. But starting school, you want to think, what time are you getting up in the morning? Is that going to change? Is that going to be different, right? If it is going to be different, what time are you going to feed your dog in the morning? What time are you going to take them out for a walk? You want to start to pre-plan all these things according to your new schedule. But the key point, you want to start doing this, implementing the schedule early. You don't want to wait till like the first day of school or the first day the schedule changes and then decide, oh, dog, guess what? We're doing things differently this go round. So soon as you watch this live right now, soon as you get off this live tomorrow, tonight, sit down with your family, think about whether the schedule has changed, and then start implementing that schedule for your dog tomorrow so that when your kids do go back to school, it's not like a big upset for your dog. They're like, you know what, we've been doing this for a few weeks, it's whatever, it's not that big of a problem. And that leads me into the next question. What about separation anxiety when you leave your dog home alone? So this is a big one. And this actually happened to me this weekend with one of my own dogs. So you have to think about it, especially when you have kids. I know a lot of people are working from home, and usually that's one of, parents or whatever, one or two people at a time, maybe more, right? But throughout the summer, when you have all the kids at home, you have the dogs, and then all of a sudden all the kids are removed from that situation, the dog ends up in a panic, even if there are two people at home, because they're so used to being around those people. And then say the kids go off to school, you're working from home, you decide to go out for a lunch. Now your dog's completely alone, and now they have separation anxiety because they haven't been used to being home alone. So you don't want to wait till your kids go off to school or the schedule changes to figure out your dog cannot be home alone. Which you want to start to do now, like I said, when you get off this live today, we like to do, if you call me, even if it wasn't for your kids going back to school and you're talking about separation anxiety, you want to start training your dog for small moments of separation. So what that means, what you're going to do when you go to the bathroom, if you let your dog come in your bathroom with you, leave your dog outside the bathroom door. When you're getting dressed in the morning, if you allow your dog to come into the to your bedroom, leave them outside the bedroom door, close the door. Right now, my dog is laying right here while I'm doing this live with you. If he had separation anxiety, I would actually make him stay outside the door, because what your dog will start to learn is like, hey, you only left for like a few moments and you came right back. We don't want to start leaving our dog for like hours at a time, hoping that they'll be home alone. Okay, home alone, you want to start doing small moments of separation. So any small moments where you can leave your dog home alone for a few seconds or a few minutes, you want to do that, because what you're teaching your dog is, hey, look, I'm coming back. And then over time, you can gradually increase that time that you're away. But for now, start working on those small moments of separation. And if you do notice, like after you watch this live, you start to practice this and you're like, oh, like my dog can't stay home alone, then you definitely want to reach out to a trainer like myself, because this is something that doesn't resolve on its own. You definitely want to tackle it with a trainer. So go ahead and start those small moments of separation so that when your kids go off to school, or if you have to leave, that's not going to be big of an issue. Um, Another question I get with kids going back to school, and these are all the mistakes you don't want to make, but that's why we're talking about them. Any tips for keeping our dog mentally stimulated while, the kids are away, or say you're going away to work or whatever it may be? So we talked about routine. When it comes down to mental stimulation, and kids going back to school and just in general, oh, a tired dog is a good dog. I always preface that with anything I'm about to say. So no matter what I say, you can always think back to tire out the dog, tire out the dog. You want to get the dog mentally stimulated. I know fall's coming around the corner. Depending on where you are, the weather may change. Ideally, I would say take your dog out for a nice long walk, tire them out, just so that when they're home, they're not getting into things when the kids are gone, or when you're trying to work, or if they're home alone. But also, you want to consider puzzle toys like Kongs, treat dispensing balls, or bones, or anything that's interactive that they can do alone where they don't need someone else. And those are all mental stimulation toys that are going to work the dog's brain, and that can be very exhausting as well. And to figure out which toy is best for your dog, like I said, don't wait till your kids go back to school, and because right now your kids are probably entertaining their dogs a little bit. Don't wait till the kids go back to school. Start sorting to those items down. If you don't have them, you want to grab them. And I always say, to figure out what your dog loves, look to see what your dog engages with the longest, and that's going to be your go-to for if you're working from home, or if you leave your dog home, or just in general, if you want to keep them mentally stimulated for a long period of time. So moving on, another great question is, my dog tends to bark excessively when the kids leave for school. How can I manage that? Right. Morning routines. That's a big one in general. Never mind school. Managing morning routine with kids and dogs. I probably should do a whole nother live session on that. But that can be a pretty it doesn't have to be tricky. Ideally, what I've been telling families with kids and managing the morning routine, if all possible, you want to try to have your dog do something simultaneously at the same time while you're getting the kids ready, or while they're eating breakfast, if the dog's becoming a hot mess while you're trying to do that. So ideally, feeding your dog at the same time if you're getting the kids ready or they're eating. If you're saying to yourself, well, my dog eats rather fast, have them feed them out of Kong. That'll definitely slow them down. Or if you take their kibble, scatter it in the backyard or in a room, and that will slow them down. Anything to slow down their meals, to buy you time in the morning. Also, I love confinement areas, such as gated areas, or if you have a fenced-in backyard, just putting them out there with something to do, like a treat dispensing ball, just to keep them occupied. So at the end of the day, you want to think about, what is it that, going back to, again, mental stimulation, what is it that my dog will engage with the longest, while I can get my kids situated? Because other than that, your dog's going to be barking, getting involved in stuff and things like that. So just make sure. And ideally, what I tell families too is, when you have the gated area, not saying you have to move or anything, where all the families, where you're getting your kids ready, all the chaos is happening, dogs, they have like FOMO of missing out. And sometimes that barking can come from barrier frustration. So if you notice that, you are giving your dog something simultaneously to do, and they are still like going back to the kids or causing chaos, put them outside, put them in a room or something like that, until you can get the kids situated and stuff like that. So we talked about this. The other question I had was, what about what do we do when dogs become restless and anxious during the day? Keep in mind, right? Going back to school, your kids are gone, say till like 3 or 4 or whatever it may be. But you want to make sure, when it comes down to your kids going back to school, that throughout the day you have activities for your dog to do, so they're on a structured schedule, so they're not getting restless and bored. A dog's routine should consist of eating, pooping, peeing, playing, and training, and sleep. Especially for puppies, they need a tremendous amount of sleep. So rotate in through that. Okay. So Just to wrap things up, to ensure you're not making any big mistakes, what I want you to do today, sit down with the family, see if your routine is going to be changing immediately within the next few weeks or the next few months, and you want to keep that into consideration. I would say that's the biggest mistake families make is just, forgetting about your dog when kids are going back to school and forgetting they need a new routine as well. Your kids already have when they're off to school for like 7 to 4 and then sports or whatever they're doing after school, but your not dogs need a routine too. When that doesn't happen, they end up getting into a lot of trouble because they don't have anything to do. And so you want to make sure again, have your dog get your dog mentally stimulated with puzzle toys and things as such. Take them out for nice long walks if you can. If you definitely don't have time in your schedule, always think about doggy daycares, hiring a dog walker, taking them to a puppy play group or a dog play group or anything of such. But as always, these are some tips to get you back on up and up for when your kids go back to school and getting your dogs on the right path. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. As always, I know people are starting to get busy. If you cannot watch these lives and you are a podcast person, you can find me on all those podcast platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, all those great things. So other than that, enjoy your week. I hope you have a good back to school if your kids aren't back to school yet. But if they are, start implementing these things. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out because I'm always around. All right. Enjoy your day. Bye.